Hey guys, welcome to the video. If you're new here, my name's Curtis, and today we're going to be talking about sillage. So I have quite a few fragrances in my collection that I feel like are just the absolute best smells ever when it comes to their sillage. So I've gone through and I've chosen 6 out of my collection that are just perfect for this category, and I'd like to share those with you today. So if you're curious to hear my thoughts and opinions about these fragrances, then let's go. All right, first up from the house of Jovoy, we have Psychedelique. Okay, so this is a patchouli bomb. If your nose isn't accustomed to the note of patchouli quite yet, then you may not necessarily want to start with this fragrance. But this is such a gorgeous combination of patchouli, a bit of vanilla and amber. And gosh, this is the type of patchouli that kind of pushes along the lines of that earthy, kind of chocolatey, cakey patchouli. And so it blends very, very well with those ambery style notes in this fragrance, but it is so intoxicating. And when you catch this one in the air, it's gorgeous. It is absolutely gorgeous. But I have to warn you, this is a big, massive, beefy fragrance. So, if you're someone who isn't into necessarily strong, heavy, beefy fragrances, or patchouli fragrances, then this may not be your cup of tea. But this is a fragrance that I absolutely love. And it took me a long time, like in my fragrance journey, just to get accustomed to the note of patchouli. It's definitely not a note that I fell in love with from the very beginning. It's a note that took me quite a bit of time to get used to, but now I absolutely love it. And patchouli is one of those notes that can have so many different facets, but in Psychedelique, it kind of gives off that chocolatey, cakey vibe with a slight earthiness as well. But I really, really enjoy it, and just the sillage on this is absolutely gorgeous. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Psychedelique by Jovoy. Next up, from the house of Perris, Monte Carlo, we have Rose de Taif Extrait. Man, you guys, this has to be my favorite rose fragrance. And you guys know, I've talked about, Frederic Mall's Portrait of a Lady. That was kind of my introduction into rose fragrances, and I love that one. That is just a gorgeous, gorgeous rose patchouli fragrance, but this one is just something else. I mean, a masterpiece creation by Luca Maffei, in my humble opinion. But basically what you get here is you get heavy, heavy blast of Taif rose. And my image of this, and I've mentioned this on the channel before, is if you have a bathtub full of Taif rose petals, and then you slice open a lemon and squeeze the juice all in those rose petals, that's essentially what you get here. It is such a stunning rose fragrance, and it has a massive and absolutely gorgeous sillage. Every single time I wear this fragrance, someone says something like, wow, that's gorgeous, or wow, this smells so good. I mean, the sillage on this is massive, and when you spray this one on your skin, you see the shiny, kind of sticky oil here. And so I understand why it produces such a massive kind of sillage. I mean, this one lingers. This one really, really lingers in the air. But just the smell, it's definitely one of the best smells ever, in my opinion. This is a great one. And I think the House of Perris Monte Carlo in general is highly underrated in terms of, a fragrance house. They produce just some stunners, and there aren't a whole lot of people talking about this house. But yeah, I have a few fragrances from the brand, and yeah, this is definitely my favorite one from the house. And if you enjoy rose, this is definitely one to check out for sure. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Rose de Taif Extrait by Perris Monte Carlo. Next up, from the house of Maison Violet, we have Un Air d'Apogée. Man, you guys, I talk about this fragrance quite a bit on the channel too. Man, such a gorgeous take on tobacco and honey, but not like the overly sweet kind of cloying type of honey. And actually what's really interesting about this fragrance is it doesn't even contain honey in it. It has the note of mimosa though. And the way mimosa is kind of used in perfumery a lot of times is it kind of comes off like honey, but it can also give off a slightly powdery type vibe. And in this case, it's kind of, I guess in a way, kind of mimicking what honey would do in a fragrance. But like I said before, it's not like overly sweet or cloying, but it's just gorgeous. And you also get a bit of hay in here, which provides a slight earthiness to this fragrance. But the sillage is so intoxicating with this one. You know, I wouldn't say this isn't a beast mode fragrance or anything like that. It's a moderate sillage, but the sillage that you do catch with this is just breathtakingly gorgeous. It is one of the best smells ever, in my humble opinion, and it's definitely, Un Air d'Apogée is definitely one to check out from the brand. You know, and again, Maison Violet is another house that doesn't get talked about a whole lot. I mean, they have some absolute bangers on their roster. I mean, Un Air d'Apogée, Sketch is another one. And, you know, the in-house perfumer for Maison Violet is Nathalie Lorsan. She has just done some amazing work with that entire house. So yeah, you guys try to get your nose on this house. You know, I'll always talk about them. I'm a huge supporter of them. Just because I enjoy their fragrances so much. So yeah, if you can, get yourself a sample of Un Air d'Apogée by Maison Violet. Next up, from the house of Lorenzo Pazzaglia, we have Van Py Rhum. Man, you guys, this one is so good. And I have actually done a full review on this fragrance maybe about a month or so ago. So if you missed that review, you can check it here. Man, this one is a vanilla bomb, but I think they use like 4 or 5 different types of vanilla in this fragrance. But the crazy thing is it doesn't come off like overly sweet or overly cloying. And I think that's because of the combination of notes that they use in this fragrance. You also get a pretty hefty dose of patchouli and rum. And I think it's the combination of those notes coming together that just makes this fragrance so intoxicating. And again, this is one of those that just the sillage, this one lingers, but it's such a pleasant and gorgeous sillage. Like I said, it's not like, you know, sugary sweet. And that's just baffling to me, considering that they used like 4 or 5 different types of vanilla in this fragrance. But yeah, this is definitely a great one. And I think, you know, you do hear some people talking about this one, but I feel that this is like one of the underrated ones from the house, in my opinion. It's such a good one, and I love the scent profile in general. And also, one other thing I love about this one is, you know, from the moment you spray this one on your skin, it starts changing from that moment. And so this one also kind of takes you on a journey, and I appreciate the journey of this fragrance. But yeah, lovely one and a stunner from the house. If you can, get yourself a sample of Van Py Rhum by Lorenzo Pazzaglia. Next up, from the house of BDK, we have Ce Soir Extrait. Man, this is an absolutely stunning, fruity, floral, amber fragrance. And one thing about this fragrance, before they had released the Extrait version, I was familiar with the just regular Ce Soir version. And for me, that one always came off a bit too feminine for my personal liking. It's a gorgeous fragrance and it's absolutely stunning to smell on a woman, but it was a bit too feminine for my personal liking. And when I heard that they were going to release the Extrait version, I was a bit skeptical because I was familiar with the original version. But one day when I was fragrance shopping, I was at the nose shop in Japan and I smelled it and really took a liking to this one. So basically what they did with the Extrait version, they added a bit of patchouli, and that patchouli kind of darkened things up a little bit, gave it a slight earthiness, and they also added the note of cacao. So it just gave this fragrance a slightly different twist. You can definitely pick up on the original DNA in here, but there's just that subtle change to this one, which made this one, I think, more wearable for myself and what I enjoy wearing in a fragrance. But man, this one is heavy. The sillage lingers, but it is so gorgeous. I love the smell of this one, and I'm glad that I decided to give this one a chance. So like I said before, you know, like for me, since they added the note of patchouli and cacao, you know, I still feel like it leans feminine, but it's ever so slightly pushed a little bit more over to that masculine kind of center line of unisex. But yeah, this is definitely a great one from the house. And you know, if you're looking for a fragrance that leaves just an absolutely gorgeous sillage, this is definitely one to check out. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Ce Soir Extrait by BDK. And finally, from the house of Maison Crivelli, we have Oud Maracuja. So this is a statement maker fragrance. It has extreme personality, and it's just a really gorgeous interplay between the oud and the passion fruit. Yeah, I love the wearing experience, but one thing when you do wear this fragrance, you have to understand that it is a commitment. And what I mean by that, as it's so strong, you know, for me personally, in my experience, I can get over 24 hours with this fragrance easily. Now, I'm talking about longevity. Just to kind of throw that out there. I know this video is about sillage, but just to tell you, you know, how serious this fragrance is. It is a heavy, beefy fragrance, but it does leave a gorgeous sillage in the air. This is one of those fragrances that, you know, you do have that passion fruit in there, which kind of gives it a kind of a bright kind of fruitiness, and then you have the oud in there, which kind of gives it more of a dark vibe to it. But the combination of the two are just intoxicatingly sexy, and to smell that sillage in the air, oh man, it's so good. But this one for me is definitely one of those fragrances that I like to wear more like in the deeper fall months when it's really cooled down in the winter time. I feel like this fragrance really shines during those times. But yeah, this is a great one, but like I said, it is heavy, so you got to be prepared for that. Yeah, so one thing I'll say about the oud in here, it's definitely more of a westernized oud. It doesn't smell like barnyardy or funky or skanky or anything like that. It smells quite pleasant. Like I said, that kind of more westernized style oud blended together with the passion fruit is intoxicating, and I love smelling this one in the air. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Oud Maracuja by Maison Crivelli. All right guys, so that's all I have for you for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's content, and let me know down in the comment section, what fragrances do you have in your collection that you feel like leave absolutely gorgeous sillage? I'd love to hear about them. Well, I hope you guys are staying healthy and well, and I'll see you in the next video.